You are watching Darasa Online.
Hi, my dear students. My name is Rukia Abdallah. I'm a biology teacher. I'm going to make revision with you on the topic of transportation. As you know, transportation is divided into two. That is transportation in plants and the transportation in animals. Transportation in plants and the transportation in animals. For this time, I'm going to start with the transportation in plants. Later on, we will continue with the second part of transportation. Okay, I'm going to start with the question number 1. Question number 1 is this one. It says that why should higher organisms have transport system? Therefore here, you are required to ask yourself, why should higher organisms have transport system? Think it for about 1 minute. Why? Mind you that in order to answer such kind of question precisely, you are required to ask yourselves the following questions. For instance, which materials or resources do higher organisms require or need? Which materials do higher organisms need? For example, they need water for the case of plants. Also, plants need carbon dioxide. They also need mineral salts. After knowing which materials are needed by the organisms, you also required to know the functions or the roles played by those materials which you have mentioned. For instance, we know that water is needed by the plants for photosynthesis, and mineral salts are needed by plants for various purposes like making food and other materials. And carbon dioxide is needed by the plant for synthesizing food. You may realize that carbon dioxide and water are the raw materials for photosynthesis. I think you have covered that one in Form 5 under the topic of nutrition. After knowing the purpose of those materials which organisms need, you are also required to ask yourselves where those materials used. In plants, you may say that they need water in the leaves. Why? In order to carry out photosynthesis process. Apart from that, you may also say that they need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis process. Where? To the leaves. After asking that question yourselves, you are also required to measure the distance. The distance from where? From where materials are obtained to the area where they play part. For example, we know that For the case of plants, they get water from the soil. And that water should be carried from the soil by roots to the upper parts of the plants. And carbon dioxide comes from the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide also should be taken from there to the leaves. Therefore, it means the distance from where the materials are obtained to the area where that materials are used is very big. Due to that, it means the system here should be created in order to transmit the materials or to conduct materials. That is why higher organisms need transport system. You may also consider for the case of animals. For example, human being. You need food. Where do you get food? That food you take from the environment. You eat food. After eating, where that food goes? It goes to the stomach and it is digested there. Then what happens after digestion? After digestion, that food should be absorbed to different parts of the body. It means absorption and assimilation should be taken place. And where should that food go from the digestive system? It means it should be carried by a transport system from the area of digestion to the area of uses. That is why we say that higher organisms should have transport system. But you can also consider in another angle, not only the materials which are needed by the body. You may find that sometimes an organism may produce waste products. Then you should ask yourself, the waste products should remain in the body? Obviously no. The waste product which are produced during metabolic activities should be removed out. It should be removed out from the area of production to the area of removal. For instance, when you consider about urea, soon after being produced by the body, it means it should be eliminated out. Eliminated out by which means? So there, it means urea formation takes place in the onysin cycle, that is the liver. Then the liver transport that materials using blood to the kidney. From the kidney, there is a formation of urine. Then urea is removed in the form of urine. When you measure the distance from the area of production of urea to the area of removal of that urea is so big. That is why there is a need of having a transport system for the case of higher organisms. Okay, after knowing that, you may try to consider several materials which are required by the body of organisms. Consider the distance, consider the uses of that material. After knowing all those, you will be in a better position to say why higher organisms should have a transport system. Okay, today I intended to cover the following aspects. It means by the end of my presentation, you will be in a better position, or you will be able to understand or to attain the following objectives. My objective number one is that you will be able to identify vascular tissues in plants. You will be able to identify vascular tissues in plants. And another aspect, you will be able to describe each vascular tissue in in plants. That means you will be able to describe the xylem. You will also able to describe the phloem. After making descriptions of these two, it is also my expectation that by the end of that presentation, you will be able to relate the structure of the vascular tissues to their roles. That means adaptations of vascular tissues to their functions. Adaptations of vascular tissues to their functions. Okay, now I'm going to make my presentation basing on about 7 questions. I'm going to base on 7 questions. The first one you have already seen in my introductory part. The second question says that describe the structure of the xylem. Describe the structure of the xylem. You are required to make description. And for the case of description, here, you are required first of all to know its components. Components of xylem. Xylem is composed of the following. There is trachate cells. Apart from tracheids, there is also vessels. Another component is xylem parenchyma. And another component is xylem fiber. Xylem fiber. It means the xylem is composed of about these 4 components. After identifying the components, you are now required to go to each component, describing the structure of each component. For instance, you may start with the tracheids. How does it look like? How does tracheid look like? In your discussion, at the beginning of the Form 6, you realized that tracheid looks like this structure. It looks like this diagram. It has these structures which are known as pits. Apart from having pits in the wall, also it is pointed on both ends. Pointed at both ends. And apart from being pointed, the cells are elongated. The cells have been elongated and they have lignified cell walls. They have lignified cell walls, and when they reach maturity, they lost their protoplasm. It means they are considered to be dead cells. They are considered to be dead cells with no any obstructions at the lumen because the protoplasm have been lost. And after that, you should ask yourselves, are these cells connected or not? Are these cells connected end to end or not? These questions should be asked by you. Mind you that tracheids are involved in the transportation of mineral salts and the water. They are involved in transportation of mineral salts and the water. Therefore, the ends here should be connected with another tracheid. One tracheid is connected end to end by another tracheid to form a continuous tube-like structure in order to allow passage of mineral salt and the water. And mind you that tracheids are the primitive water conducting structures in plants. They are only cells which are involved in conduction of water in lower vascular plants. After making description of tracheids, you are also required to go to another component, that is vessel. Vessel. Here, vessel looks like the following diagram. I think you know it because you have already discussed that topic. Here, we are just making revisions. It looks like this one with the pits as usual. Pits are still there. For the case of vessels, vessels are perforated. They are perforated at both ends, and the lumen also is empty. After reaching maturity, it means the protoplasm is lost after reaching maturity. That is why the lumen becomes hollow. Apart from having hollow lumen, we consider these cells as dead. They are also dead cells like tracheids. When we compare the diameter and the height of vessels and the tracheids, vessels are somehow shorter and wider. They are somehow shorter and wider. Still, vessels have been connected end to form a continuous tube which allows passage of water and mineral salt. And when you check the wall also contains some pits. It has some pits. It is also lignified. The wall is lignified. There is lignin materials in the cell wall in order to increase strength of that vessel. After describing the structure of vessel, you are also required to know the function which is performed by these kind of cells. Mind you that The main functions of these cells is to conduct water and mineral salts. And vessels are only found in higher plants like angiosperms. But for the case of lower plants, they have only tracheids as water conducting cells. Then, after making description on that structure, you are required to go to component number 3. Component 3, I said, is xylem parenchyma. Xylem parenchyma. These cells are also elongated. The walls of these cells are still lignified. And for the case of xylem parenchyma, these cells are living. These cells are living. The main function of this cell is, one, is to assist lateral conduction of water and mineral salt. But apart from that, it also play another role of storing food. From there, we go to the last component. The last component is xylem fiber. Xylem fiber. Xylem fiber, these ones are slender. They are slender, also they are long. They are also lignified. They have pits. But these cells are dead. They are dead cells. They are non-conducting cells. They are involved in making support, making the system strong, so it provides support. Okay, my dear students, after describing the components of xylem and checking their roles, it is your time now to sit down and revise all things which I have introduced to you, starting from question number 1 and question number 2. Use about 3 minutes to make discussion and description about what we have discussed. After that time, I will come and we will continue with our lesson. Okay, hi. It is my hope that you have completed the work which I gave you. I said that pass through all things which we have discussed based on question number 1 and question number 2. Now we are going to question number 3. Question number 3 says that with the aid of the diagram, describe the structure of xylem. When you check that question closely and clearly, you may observe that the question is similar to question number 2. You are required to do the same like question number 2. It means diagrams is necessary. You should use diagrams in making description. Mind you that Sometimes you may make description of something without using diagrams, like question number 2. But for the case of question 3, diagrams should be used in making description. Therefore, I give you that question as a homework. After my presentation, you will sit down and try to describe the structure of xylem with the aid of diagrams. Okay, let us now go to question number 4. Question 4 says that, how is the structure of xylem adapted for transportation of water? You know the structure of xylem. Now you are going to concentrate to that structure with relation to its roles. For instance, you may say that the xylem is connected end to end to form a continuous tube. We have seen that one in both vessels and tracheids. But saying to form continuous tube is not enough. You should connect with the role. Why does it connected end to form a continuous tube? In order to facilitate transportation of mineral salts and water. That is adaptation number 1. Adaptation number 2. You check the things which are found in the walls of the xylem. You may realize that we said that the wall is pitted. It contains what? Pits. Why pits? Why? To facilitate lateral movement of water. To facilitate lateral movement of water. Then you may check for the case of vessels. We said that vessels are perforated. They have been perforated on both ends. Why perforated? In order to make a continuous flow of water without any obstructions. But even in tracheids, which have not perforated, they have what? They have pits there, which allows water to move smoothly. And another adaptation, you may check the presence of lignin materials in the wall. We said that the walls are lignified. Why? To confer strength and support to that vessel. It means while transporting water, the system cannot collapse. That is why the system is lignified. Okay, these are some of adaptations. As your homework, you will continue finding out so many adaptations of that system, because you already know its sort of description. Therefore, it is easy to link the structure and their roles. Let us now go to question number 5. Question number 5 deals with the description of the phloem. Description of phloem. At the beginning there, I said that the There are two types of vascular tissues in plants. That is xylem and phloem. Therefore, we are through with the xylem. Let us now go to another part of vascular system, that is phloem. For the case of phloem, we are also required to identify the components of phloem. You cannot make description without knowing its components. Therefore, component number 1 here is companion cells. Apart from companion cells, there is also sieve tube. We can also call sieve tube. Apart from having sieve tubes, there is also phloem parenchyma. Phloem fibers. And the last one is sclerates. These 5 components, or these 5 cells, form the so-called phloem. Now, we are going to describe each type of cell. I'm going to start with the companion cells. These are living cells. They have thin walls. They have thin walls. They have all other cell organelles like mitochondria and the other structures. Apart from having mitochondria, these cells are active. They are active. Mind you that companion cells assist the sieve tube to function efficiently. They have mitochondria here in order to provide energy which is needed by the sieve tubes to transport food. That is why I say that it assists the sieve tube cells. And apart from that, the companion cells looks like this is structure. As I have already said, mitochondria are there. Other cells inclusions are also found there. The wall is somehow thin, but it is also lignified. Lignification is still there. And another component is phloem parenchyma. For the case of parenchyma, there is no difference with the parenchyma which is found in xylem. It also lignified and it has pits. It assists the strength of the system in order to make it to perform its function effectively and efficiently. Apart from phloem parenchyma, we said that there is also sclerids. Sclerids, these are thin, slender structures. They are slender. They are dead at maturity. They are lignified. They confer support to the phloem. They also provide support. And then we go to the last one. The last one is sieve tubes. These have been modified for conduction of food materials. The cells looks like the following diagram here. You may get that diagram in your Form 6 notes or even in your books. It looks like that. The protoplasm here have been lost after reaching maturity in order to create a space for transmission of food. But at the ends here, this area is known as sieve plate. Sieve plate. The same applies to this one, this area. It is also known as sieve plate. And when you check that plate, it has some poles. It has some poles. Why? In order to allow materials to move. Still, the wall is lignified and have some poles which allow lateral movement. And each sieve tube member, we call sieve tube elements. Each sieve tube element is connected by another sieve tube element to form a continuous pipe. To form a continuous pipe which facilitate transportation of materials. The materials which I'm talking here is food, which have been synthesized by the plants in the form of sucrose, for example. Okay. After describing the structure of phloem, we are now going to check question number 6. Question 6 says that with the aid of diagrams, describe the structure of phloem. With the aid of the diagrams, describe the structure of phloem. There is no difference with question number 5. The difference there is just you must describe phloem using diagrams. Use words together with the diagrams. So as we did previously, you will take that question as a homework. You will go and find out the diagrams which are trying to describe the phloem structure. I think you have understood. Then we go to last question. Question number 7. Question 7 says that how is the structure of phloem adapted for conduction of organic solutes? such as sucrose. How is the structure of phloem adapted for conduction of organic solutes such as sucrose? It means you are required to relate the structure and the role which is performed by that particular structure. For example, adaptation number 1, you may say that the cells have been connected end to end to form a continuous pipe which facilitates transportation of materials from one point to another. That is one. Second, you may also consider the presence of sieve plates. We said that there are sieve plates. Presence of sieve plates which prevent flow back of materials. Number 3, you may consider the walls. How does it look like? We said that in each particular cell, walls are lignified. Why? In order to confer strength and support. Apart from being lignified, we also said that the walls are pitted. It means presence of pits. Pits allow lateral movement of food. Again, you are required to sit down and write all the adaptations of phloem in transporting food. Here I just gave you some examples. Okay, after reaching here, you can now assess yourself. We said that by the end of my presentation, 3 objectives should be attained. Objective number 1, I said you should be able to identify vascular tissues in plants. Now ask yourself, have you managed to identify the vascular tissues in plants? I think you can do it. That is xylem and phloem. Then check the second objective. Second objective said that describe each vascular tissue in a plant. That means describe xylem, then describe phloem. I gave you 2 sample questions based on a description of xylem and the phloem. It is my hope that you managed to describe the structure of each vascular tissues. Then the last question says that you will be able to explain the adaptations of vascular tissues to their functions. Now ask yourself, are you able now to explain or to show how the structure of phloem is adapted for conduction of organic solutes? Can you explain how the structure of xylem adapted for conduction of organic solutes? Then if you are in a position to get all these 3 objectives, then I can say that my presentation is successful. It means I managed you to reach your goals. But make sure that this presentation is just a revision. you have already discussed in your schools with your teachers about that subtopic. Here we are just making revision. Therefore, make sure that you revise each and everything concerning with this matter. After revising each and everything, make sure that you sit down and you try to answer each question. First of all, read. Make sure you understand each and everything. After that, sit down, take your piece of paper, take your pen, try to answer each question precisely. After answering each question, make sure that you mark in order to assess yourself whether you have achieved the goal or not. You sit down, you try to mark by correlating with the materials in the book or in your notes. If you find out that you go astray, sit down again, read again, remove the obstacle which you are facing. When you follow that pattern, it is my expectation that you will be in a better position to understand each and everything concerning with the vascular tissues. Most of you said that transport in plants is very difficult. But here, do you see that the topic is difficult? It is not difficult. It is just a matter of deciding yourself whether you pass or not. Therefore, if you want to pass, sit down, follow the instruction which I gave you, read your books, answer each and everything, then you will master it. Thank you. I shall see you in another presentation. Thank you so much. Don't forget to read.